Hey everyone, I'm here in San Pedro, Belize, and I have traveled up north to Sundet today to talk to a Belizean author, entrepreneur, bartender, tour guide, you name it, he probably does it, and that is Marlon August. Now, of course, you can see it's a little windy here today. We would prefer to show everyone this beautiful view out here, but we're gonna have to go up and sit at a table. It's one of those things, you do get wind here. All right, we are here with Marlon. And I met you for the first time probably 3 years ago. You were bartending what is now is Doghouse. It was Belize back then. You are one of the most well-known bartenders. You bartended probably at every bar on the island.
Considered old school bartender. Yeah.
And so what else do you do besides bartend?
Right now I'm helping out a guy with a sailboat. We're doing upriggers and I do the sanding and buffing and whatnot. He wants me to help repair his golf cart. So whatever it takes to make a little money during this time of where we don't have much bars open, because my bartending skill is not required at the little bar that doesn't have enough money to pay me. I got to do what I got to do to make money to feed my family. Whatever people call me to do, I'll go do it, and I work my ass off for some money for rice and beans.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of good skills.
Oh yeah.
So did you learn that just growing up here?
Well, yes, I grew up in a big family, so I got 10 brothers and 3 sisters. Yeah, we grew up on a farm. My dad was livestock agricultural farmer.
So that was on the mainland?
In the mainland, in San Ignacio. I moved out here my first time in '86, where I bartended, and I also did beach combing. Whenever somebody was missing, I would fill in that gap. Assistant chef, whatever it takes.
Oh, a chef too?
Yeah. Like I say, I'm versatile. I will do anything. When I lived in the States for a year and I did sanding and stripping airplane, and I realized I didn't want to be in the States, so I want to come back home, be poor and happy. So I'm back here in Belize.
That's one thing that I've noticed with the Belizean people. They always manage to get by, and they're always happy and thankful for what they have and what they can get.
That's right. Like I say, I'll go up and down the beach picking up coconut. Whenever it comes time to cook rice and beans, I'd cut open a coconut, grate it, and use the fresh milk to make my rice and beans.
Once they fall out of a tree, how long do they stay good?
Well, they could stay until they sprout, and they will sprout and become a tree. So if you get them before they sprout, then they're still good. Then it could sit on the ground for up to a month. Sometimes I get them sprouting, and then you could sell them as a plant. So when you get 50 cents or 75 cents for a coconut, a plant would be like $5 or $10. It's never a loss. And then we go around. If there's bottles laying around, we pick them up. So a Coke bottle or Belkin bottle is a quarter, so we pick them up. Every time we pass one, they say, hey, there's a quarter. There's 50 cents, so we pick them up.
And then where do you take them to recycle?
To the distributor, pay you a fee to bring them in.
Yeah, that would take a little while to collect a good amount of money.
Yeah. And a lot of people that don't have a job, that's their job. And
but it's actually doing the island a favor, because it's picking up the trash. That's very important for everyone out there, whether you're a tourist or you live here. You want to keep the island nice and clean, because that's one of the things that will draw tourists in. Exactly. Everybody out there, pick up your trash and don't litter.
Yeah. Even the seaweed, I'll pick it up for people that have nice beach. That's the way I get my workout.
The seaweed that you're talking about, it's sargasso?
Yeah, sargasso.
And that's just a weed that washes up here periodically.
Yeah, and it comes from the Sargasso Sea.
And there's certain times of year that it's worse than others.
Exactly.
So now one of the other things that you are most known for is that you are actually an author and have a book out.
That's right.
And what is the name of the book?
My book is called My Life and Travels in Belize. And I conjured up this book while working at Coco Loco. I met a guy called Big Pete, a good friend of mine, Canadian, and him and his wife, they were both authors. They gave me the idea that with all these stories that I tell the tourists around the bar, I should write a book about it. And so I did, and I gave it to them, and they took it up to the States and got it published for me in 2012. So it's called My Life and Travels in Belize.
And you can get that on Amazon.
And it's on Amazon.
Is there any other places that it's available?
I would like to get them down here, except for I don't have money to buy them. The only way I get them is when my account that Big Pete opened for me in the U.S. have a little money. He would buy a few and ship them down. That's when I could sell them and autograph them to people for my own pocket money. Yeah.
So it's a compilation of stories about your life and everything that you've done in Belize.
Exactly, and it starts from when I was 13. My dad, he was married to my mom for 53 years, but after being that long together, he decided to run off with a younger woman.
53 years, and he had enough. He said, I'm out of here.
So I became a man at 13. I went out and started working. I ran away from home.
Now, where were you within the succession of your brothers and sisters? Are you one of the older?
I'm the baby of the family.
Okay,
yeah,
baby.
So baby of 14. And I started working at 13, renting my own house, and I went the farthest away I could go from home, which is Punta Gorda.
You rented your own house at 13?
At 13. And I worked for $1 Belize an hour. I had $80 on me. This is pre-independence, 1980. And everything was dirt cheap. With $80, I could pay 3 months rent and still have some food money. And back in those days, we had only home phones. Community phones. There was no home phones. So by my mom trying to contact me, she would have to contact every village to see if there's this kid there. She didn't find me until 6 months later, and I had a brother that had a bad accident that fell on a plow and injured himself and lost an eye, so I had to help with medication for my brother, who is now a top chef in Belize. So I lived and worked down there from I was 13 to when I was 17. While living down in Punta Gorda, the highway, there wasn't much transportation, so I'd hitchhike to go to work, which is 185 miles.
You hitchhiked 185 miles to go to
back
work.
To work, yeah. So on one of those expeditions, I even caught a ride with the father of the nation, the Right Honorable George Price, who is now deceased. He was such a nice guy, driving down to go to a meeting down that way, and I happened to be hiking with a Canadian guy and a Venezuelan guy, and we were sitting there for 3 hours. And all of a sudden, here comes the flag. I could see it on the horizon. And I tell the guys, grab your bags, we're getting a ride. So the Canadian guy says, are you kidding me? That seems to be an official vehicle. I tell him, you damn right it is. That's my prime minister. And you telling us we're going to get a ride with your prime minister? I said, yes, you just watch me. And we went out there, stick my thumb out. He stopped, picked us up. And not only did he stop, but he addressed me first. He said, you're in August. I said, yes, sir. Because he knew my dad personally. So we got in there, and the Canadian guy says, well, it's an honor to meet you. The father of the nation, Prime Minister George Price. Marlon told us we're going to get a ride with you. We couldn't believe it. But now we're in the car, we're believing it. So,
Believe it.
Yeah, exactly. You better believe it.
Yeah, see, that's another good example of you never know what you might come across or who you'll meet here in Belize. You can hitchhike and get picked up by the Prime Minister.
Exactly, exactly. And then another story was when I was down in Punta Gorda. I met this lady that had moved from Florida to come down to live in Belize to start an orange orchard. She had worked with me for about a year and kept saying she'd put my money in the well. And after a year, she went bankrupt, so she said she's going to have to go back to the States to make some money and come back, and she'd send my money. I said, no, you won't. I'll follow you. You got to take me with. I'm going to follow my money. And that's how I went to Florida. Spent a year over there.
Is Florida the only place you've been in the U.S.?
Yes, only.
And then have you traveled any other countries?
Well, yeah, I've been to all the other Central American countries except for Panama. Yeah, I went to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, every one of them.
And how did you like them?
Oh, I love them fine. My best one was Nicaragua, though, where the people are similar to us, that they speak or Creole too, because they're part of the African descent, Scottish, English, Irish that was passing through, trying to figure out what Central America is all about. So they did exploring in Nicaragua and those places, so they left some of their influence over there like they did in Belize.
And that is one of the things that's a little different about Belize. It's English here. Everyone speaks English.
Exactly.
You all speak Creole. Every now and then I'll hear some of it. And I don't know what you're saying.
Exactly. And that's our plan, is we try to mess up the English language as much as we can. We could turn it up a notch or we could turn it down. Depends on if we don't really want you to understand, we could turn it up a notch. And for the most part, it's just that it's not polite for us to speak proper English to each other, because it will be pretentious of us to not keep our culture. Belize is the only English-speaking country that was dominated by the Brits. So we get our English law and we get taught English in school. We kept the Queen on our money and we still keep good ties with England. We're English allies.
Even though everyone speaks English here, it's English like in the U.S. No one has the British accent.
Yes. We got the Western influence because England is too far away. The governor and everybody here decided, you know what, we cannot follow all that stuff from all the way over there, and for certain we ain't driving on the left side of the road. So yeah, America is closer. So yeah, we adapted to most American
No driving
influence.
On the left side.
Exactly.
So then what brought you over to the island?
Well, I always want to be at the #1 spot. And growing up, when tourism opened up, San Pedro was always considered the #1 tourist destination. And so I came out here and I decided that this is where everything's happening, and get to meet the tourists and get to know about everybody from all walks of life, and realize that this was where I could make some money, that I did make enough money to build a home for my ex-wife and my son.
So you built a house for your ex-wife?
Yes. It was hers first, but I gave it to her and my son. Yeah.
So have you only been married the one time?
Well, yes. You know, we call it a common law wife.
So how many kids total do you have?
I have 4. 3 girls and a boy. And my baby is 16. The oldest is 30.
And how old are you?
I'm 53 years old.
53.
Yeah.
So then you came to the island. Did you start bartending right away, or were you?
Well,
doing
yes, I was called in for a new job bartending. I had a friend that was here, and he goes, "Hey, bud, there's opening a new resort here called the Capricorn, and they need a bartender." So my friend recommended me to the owners. He said, "I got a buddy in the mainland. There's a top bartender. I could call him. He could come back over here." So Clarence and Annabelle were the owners of Capricorn and called me over, and he says, "We'll give you 2 weeks trial, and then if you're good enough, we'll keep you on." And that's how I came back to the island. Belize is a beautiful place. There's so much to offer, so come on down and enjoy my country. Yeah.
Yes. Come down and enjoy Belize.
Exactly.
Maybe you'll come across Marlon. He can tell you more of his stories.
That's right.
Or just go buy your book. Go on Amazon and buy My Life
and Travels in Belize. Yes, it is.
By Marlon August.
Yeah.